My name is Athena Morrison. I am 32. I am an ER nurse practitioner in Connecticut. I have held pressure on wounds that would make most people faint. I have told parents the worst news of their lives without letting my own voice shake. I know what panic feels like. I know what danger looks like. And I know exactly when something is wrong. The worst moment of my life did not happen in an emergency room. It happened at a stop sign. My daughter Mia was 5 years old. I had just picked her up from my mother-in-law after working a double shift. She had her stuffed rabbit tucked under one arm. Her shoes were on the wrong feet. Her hair smelled like cinnamon and baby shampoo. She leaned forward from the back seat and pressed her mouth to my ear. Then she whispered 7 words that changed everything. Mommy. Grandma said, "Do not tell you." I still remember what happened inside my body when she said it. My hands went cold. My stomach dropped. The whole world outside the windshield kept moving like normal. A man jogged past the corner. A dog barked behind a fence. The sun hit the stop sign in a clean stripe of white. Everything looked ordinary. Nothing was ordinary after that. Because when I asked my daughter what she saw at Grandma Diane's house, she told me about a hidden calendar. She told me about red X marks. She told me about a secret. She told me about pictures of me that I did not know existed. And 72 hours later, I opened a kitchen drawer and found proof that my mother-in-law had been planning to take my daughter from me. Not emotionally, not metaphorically, legally. And the first person who knew it was happening was not me, it was my 5-year-old little girl. Stay with me through this story because the middle of it gets worse. The truth came out in pieces, a drawing on a refrigerator, a stuffed rabbit that was never really lost. A family group chat I should have taken seriously much earlier. A lawyer in the family who should have known better. A folder in a kitchen drawer. And a birthday party that was supposed to be a celebration and became the day I ended this in front of everyone. If you have ever felt something was wrong around your child before you had proof. If someone smiling at you ever made your instincts scream. If anyone in your family has ever tried to make you feel dramatic for noticing patterns, listen closely. And when you finish this story, I want you to tell me in the comments the exact moment you knew Diane was not just meddling. I want to know where your stomach dropped. And if you have not already, make sure you subscribe and like this video, because stories like this matter. Somebody out there is living the first 5 minutes of this nightmare right now, and they need to hear what comes next. I have worked at Hartford Mercy for 10 years. Before that, I spent 3 years in pediatric ICU. Medicine teaches you 2 things very quickly. First, the body can stay calm while the mind is screaming. Second, documentation saves lives. Those 2 truths are the only reason this story ends the way it does. I live in West Hartford with my husband Daniel and our daughter Mia. 2-story colonial, white trim. Blue hydrangeas near the porch that I forget to water and Daniel remembers. Daniel is a software engineer. He works from home 3 days a week. He is gentle. He is patient. He is the kind of man who returns grocery carts in the rain and apologizes to chairs after he bumps into them. He is also conflict avoidant in a way I did not understand was dangerous until this happened. Mia turned 5 last November. She is small for her age, watchful. Slow to speak until she knows exactly what she wants to say. She has one stuffed rabbit named Beans, not a rotation of favorite toys, not a current obsession. Beans, one rabbit, beige once, gray now. One ear slightly longer than the other, threadbare around the neck. Beans goes everywhere. The dentist, preschool, the back seat, our couch during movie night. Beans is not forgotten places. Beans is not left behind. That matters later. My own mother died of pancreatic cancer when Mia was 18 months old. My mother raised me and my brother Jack mostly alone. She worked too much. Slept too little, loved with her whole body. Even near the end, when she could barely stand, she still tucked handwritten notes into my bag or left reminders on the kitchen counter in that slanted, quick handwriting of hers. Drink water. Eat something green. Call your brother. When she died, I lost more than my mother. I lost the one person whose instincts I trusted as much as my own. After that, my mother-in-law Diane Wells stepped closer. Soft voice, casseroles, offers to babysit. Hand on my shoulder when I cried in the laundry room because Mia had a fever and I had not slept in 30 hours. Diane told me more than once that I was the daughter she never had. She said it with tears in her eyes the first time. I believed her. I let myself feel grateful. For years, I would have defended that woman. That is the part that embarrasses people after betrayal. Not that they missed something obvious. It is that they loved sincerely, that they trusted sincerely, that they accepted care sincerely. The person who manipulates you depends on your shame after the fact. So let me say this clearly. I was not foolish because I trusted her. I was vulnerable because I had reason to want to. Diane is 64, retired second-grade teacher, soft bob haircut, pastel cardigans, perfume that always smelled clean and powdery. Her kitchen always smelled faintly like cinnamon. She lived alone in a 4-bedroom colonial 20 minutes from us. Too much house for one woman. Too many guest rooms made up as if she was permanently waiting for company. In every family photo, she looked perfect for the role. The stable grandmother, the smiling center of gravity, Christmas mornings, Easter brunch, church bake sale. There she was with Mia on her hip, or on her lap, or with both hands around her little shoulders. If you met her once, you would have thought she was warmth in human form. Her daughter Vivienne lived 10 minutes away. Vivienne was 38, divorced, stylish in a polished, effortful way. Good hair, good shoes, smiled too quickly. She had been through 3 rounds of IVF and had no children. I knew that pain was real. I respected it. I also ignored too long the way she looked at Mia sometimes, not like an aunt. Not even like a woman longing for a child. More like someone staring through a store window at something she had decided should have been hers. I did not name that feeling at the time because it felt cruel. Now, I know naming something is not cruelty if it is true. There was a sentence Diane said when Mia was 2 that came back to me much later. We were at Sunday brunch on her patio. Mia was asleep in a portable playpen 10 feet away with one hand tucked under her cheek. Diane handed me coffee. She looked at Mia and then at me and said she is safer here with me. Always will be. I laughed. That is the sentence that haunts me, not because she said it, because I laughed. I said something light, something about sleep deprivation finishing me off. She laughed too. We moved on. Plates clinked. Daniel was talking to his cousins. Wind moved through the hydrangeas. Nothing exploded. No one gasped. No music stopped. That is how the dangerous things begin, in plain language. In daylight, surrounded by ordinary noise, if I had written that sentence down when she said it, this story might have ended sooner. I did not. The second moment should have bothered me more too. Diane accidentally kept beans after a visit. Mia could not sleep without him. I drove back at night to get him. Diane answered the door laughing. Oh, did she leave him here? I will be more careful next time. Beans was sitting upright on her kitchen counter facing the window, not dropped somewhere by accident. Placed. I grabbed him and went home. I told myself she had probably set him there after finding him. I explained it for her. Women do that too often. We build better stories for other people than they deserve. About 18 months before the parking lot whisper, I got promoted to senior practitioner. Better money, harder schedule, 3 overnight shifts a week, some weeks more. Some weeks Daniel traveled for work and we adjusted. We were not falling apart. We were organized. We had a shared calendar, meal prep on Sundays, preschool pickup routines, backup babysitter list, inhaler refill reminders. We were tired but functioning. That distinction matters. There is a certain kind of person who sees a working mother with under-eye circles and decides she must be failing. Especially if that mother works nights. Especially if the work is demanding. Especially if they already want to believe the child belongs more to them than to her. Diane started offering to keep Mia overnight when Daniel traveled. It sounded loving. It was useful. I said yes. I was grateful. Vivienne somehow started being there almost every time. A glass of wine in hand. Phone always close. Little jokes at the door. Pictures of me in scrubs when I arrived. 3 days later, one of those pictures would be in the family group chat with a caption. Single mom life is hard on you, sis. That was one of them, word for word. Another one said quality time with grandma while mommy saves lives. Another said she looks exhausted again. That last one should have stopped me cold. It did not. I rolled my eyes. I muted the chat for a few days. Daniel shrugged and said Vivienne is weird sometimes. That was the friction it created. Weird sometimes. That is what people call a pattern when they do not want to touch it. Mia started repeating phrases that did not sound like a 5-year-old built them herself. Grandma says you work too hard, mommy. Aunt Vivy says you look tired all the time. Grandma worries about us. I asked where she heard certain things and she would say Grandma said it. Aunt Vivy said it. I would redirect, smile, make grilled cheese, turn on blue eye, keep moving. I did what a lot of exhausted mothers do. I assumed love was messy. I assumed family was annoying but harmless. I assumed I was being oversensitive because I was tired. Here is the first thing I need you to remember if this story hits something in your chest. The people who want to take your confidence from you rarely start with direct attack. They start with repetition. They let your child hear that you are tired, that you are absent. That somebody else is more available. That somebody else is safer. They scatter those ideas around like birdseed and wait to see what lands. And if you are already tired enough, you may not see the pattern until the child begins speaking it back to you. There was also a drawing on Diane's refrigerator that I did not fully understand until later. I will come back to that because when I saw it the first time I let it pass. But that drawing matters. In stories like this, the truth often arrives early. You just do not realize it is truth yet. The night everything broke open started with a call from my coworker Sarah Lynn. It was Friday at 4 in the afternoon. She had RSV. She sounded miserable. She was supposed to cover overnight. I already had Saturday morning. She apologized 3 times before I cut her off and told her to go back to bed. I took the shift. Daniel was in Boston for work and would not be back until Saturday late morning. So I called Diane at 4:15. She picked up immediately, too quickly, like the phone had been in her hand. Oh, sweetheart, anytime, bring her by 6, her voice sounded delighted. Not accommodating, delighted. That detail only bothered me afterward. I drove Mia over a little before 6. Vivienne's silver Lexus was already in the driveway. I remember feeling 2 small things at once. Irritation that Vivienne was there again. Relief that Diane would have help. Mia went in with beans under one arm and her overnight bag dragging against one leg. Diane bent to hug her and kissed the top of her head. She said, "Hi, my favorite person." Vivienne came in from the den smiling and said, "There is my girl." Mia smiled politely, but not fully. At 5, she already knew which adults she loved and which adults she tolerated. I went into the kitchen to set down her water bottle and inhaler. Mia asked for juice. Diane turned toward the cabinet. Mia walked over and opened the 3rd drawer from the left. Diane shut it with her hip immediately. Not slammed, not angry, just quick, too quick. "Sweetheart, juice cups are up here. Grandma drawer is just for grown-up things, that is all," she said. But I remember the sound the drawer made when it closed. A small metal latch sound, as if it mattered that it stayed shut. On the refrigerator, I noticed a drawing in thick preschool marker. Stick figures, Diane, Vivienne, Daniel, Mia, know me. I looked at it maybe 2 seconds too long because Diane smiled and said kids forget things when they draw. She is a child. I smiled back. I kissed Mia. I told her I loved her. She barely looked up because Vivienne had promised a movie and marshmallows. I drove away. And before I got to the end of the street, I had already forgotten about the drawer. That is what I mean when I say the truth came in pieces. Nothing huge, nothing dramatic. Just enough for your instincts to whisper and not enough for your brain to convict anyone. I worked 16 hours straight. Stitches, IV starts. 1 toddler with croup who screamed herself hoarse. 1 teenager with appendicitis. 3 coffees, 20 conversations, 2 family members who tried to yell at staff, no sleep. By the time I drove to Diane's house Saturday morning, my body felt hollowed out. Diane opened the door in a coral cardigan, smiling, fresh. Like a woman who had slept 8 hours and spent the morning baking. She was an angel, she said. We had so much fun. Mia stood behind her holding Beans against her chest, not by one arm. Not dangling him by the ear the way she did when she was relaxed, crushed against her chest. She was looking at the floor. I crouched. Hi, baby, ready to go home. She nodded, held out her arms. I picked her up. Her face went right into my neck. Not dramatic, not crying, just tight, quiet, clinging. Children tell the truth with their bodies long before they have words for it, I thanked Diane. She kept smiling. Vivienne Carr was still in the driveway, but Vivienne herself did not appear. That felt odd. I registered it and moved on. I buckled Mia into her car seat, shut the door. Walked around. Diane waved from the porch. I waved back. I started the car and rolled toward the corner. Then Mia said, Mommy, just that first, not frightened, not crying, just careful. I said, yes, sweetheart. Then she said the 7 words, Mommy. Grandma said, do not tell you. I put the car in park at the stop sign. Everything in me wanted to spin the wheel and drive straight back to the house. Instead, I unbuckled, turned around, looked at my daughter's face. Her eyes were huge. Beans halfway in her mouth the way he always was when she was thinking hard. I asked very softly, what did you see, baby? She said Grandma was crying with Aunt Vivy at the kitchen table. They had a calendar with red X marks on it. Grandma said the X on my birthday is when I come live with her forever. There are moments when the body prepares for impact before the mind catches up. That happened to me right there. My skin went cold, my jaw locked. I could hear blood in my ears. I asked her to tell me again. She did, same details, same calm child voice. Then she added, Grandma said it is our special secret. Mommy does not need to know everything. That was the exact moment I understood that whatever this was, it was not harmless. And here is what I did not do. I did not cry in front of my daughter. I did not speed back to the house. I did not call Diane screaming. I did not text my husband in all caps. I did not give them a single second of the reaction they were probably counting on. Predatory people love emotional chaos because they know how to use it against you. So I smiled at Mia and told her thank you for telling me. I told her she was brave. I told her she was never in trouble for telling Mommy the truth. Then I asked if she wanted a donut. She nodded. I drove to the Dunkin' on Farmington Avenue and bought her a strawberry sprinkled donut and chocolate milk. I bought myself a black coffee I never touched. I sat in the parking lot and watched her eat in the rearview mirror while I rebuilt myself one breath at a time. The sugar brought color back into her face. Piece by piece, she looked like my daughter again. I drove home, turned on Blue Eye, put a blanket over her legs, kissed the top of her head and said Mommy needs one quick bathroom minute. I locked myself in the bathroom and sat on the edge of the tub. I gave myself exactly 40 seconds to feel what I felt. Then I opened the Notes app on my phone and started documenting. Saturday 7:42 a.m. Mia age 5. Verbatim. Grandma said do not tell you what I saw. Hidden calendar. Red X marks. Statement made that child would come live with Grandma forever on birthday. Special secret. Mommy does not need to know everything. I typed every word. Added timestamps. Saved screenshots to my old backup phone. Then I washed my face and walked back out. That is the first thing I want every mother listening to hear. If a child tells you something that feels wrong, document it immediately. Do not trust memory. Do not wait until later. Write it down while your hands are still shaking. That afternoon, I did not interrogate Mia. I let her watch cartoons. I made grilled cheese. I cut it into triangles because that is how she likes it when she is tired. I asked questions the same way I ask children questions in the ER when I need clarity without leading them. Was the calendar on the wall or somewhere else? Inside the cabinet door. Which cabinet? The third drawer one. Was Aunt Vivy there? Yes, happy crying. Did Grandma say anything about Mommy? Mommy works too much. When I come live with Grandma, we can make my big girl room. My big girl room. At Grandma house. Then Mia said something that made the air in my kitchen change shape. She said Grandma showed me pictures of you at work and in the parking lot and sleeping in your car. Grandma said they were for the lawyer. I kept my face smooth somehow. I asked if Grandma said the lawyer name. Mia said Aunt Cindy. Cynthia Hartwell, Daniel aunt, attorney, semi-retired, exacting woman, pearls and sharp opinions at Easter dinners. I had not thought about her in months. Now her name sat in my lap like a piece of metal. After Mia fell asleep on the couch, I went onto the back porch and called Daniel. He answered from a restaurant in Boston. I could hear dishes, male voices, the easy noise of people who have no idea your life is splitting open. I told him everything. Slowly. I read Mia exact words from the note so I would not soften anything. When I finished, there was silence. Then he said, "Babe, come on. She is 5. Kids make stuff up." That sentence hurt in a way I was not prepared for, not because it surprised me, because part of me knew it was coming. I said she did not make this up, Daniel. He said Mom adores her. She would never. I said she described a hidden calendar. She described pictures. She named your Aunt Cynthia. That is not imagination. He got quieter then, more careful. He said, "Okay. I will talk to Mom when I get home tomorrow. Please do not do anything until then. Do not blow this up." There it was. The sentence my mother would have hated. Do not blow this up. In families built around avoiding conflict, that sentence means, do not make me choose between truth and comfort. I said drive safely tomorrow and hung up. I did not call my brother Jack, yet even though he is a family law attorney and the smartest person I know when it comes to custody issues. I did not call because once I called Jack this would become real in a way Daniel could not dodge. And I wanted to give my husband one chance to step fully into this with me. One chance. Sunday morning I called Diane, not accusing, not emotional, calm voice, coffee in hand. Mia at the kitchen counter coloring so Diane could hear the background noise of an ordinary home. I said Mia mentioned a calendar at your house with red X marks. There was a tiny pause, half a beat, then Diane laughed, warmly, retirement countdown, sweetheart. Silly grandma stuff. I said Mia said the mark on her birthday means she comes to live with you forever. This time the pause was longer. Then Diane said she has such a vivid imagination. A rehearsed answer. Ready too fast. I went one step further. I said she also mentioned a stack of photographs of me from the hospital and the parking lot. She said you told her they were for the lawyer. Diane did not say what lawyer. She did not say photographs of what. She did not say I have no idea what you are talking about. She said Athena, I do not know where this is coming from. She is a child. That was the moment I knew with near certainty that there was something physical to find. An innocent person is confused. A rehearsed person is calm. I hung up, went upstairs. Opened the family group chat. And for the first time I scrolled backward not as a tired daughter-in-law, but as a woman looking for evidence. What I found turned my skin cold. 43 photographs of Mia over the previous 18 months posted by Diane or Vivienne. In every single one Mia was with them. At Diane house, at Diane church, on Vivienne lap. At the park with Diane friends, at the church fair, at brunch, baking cookies. I was in none of them. In 9 of them my absence was the caption. Mommy is working hard tonight. Quality time with grandma while mommy saves lives. She looks exhausted again. And then the one that made my whole body go still. A photo of me in scrubs at the hospital entrance taken from across the parking lot. I had no memory of it being taken. The caption said just dropping off Mia lunchbox. She looked like death warmed over. We need to do something. We need to do something. Not poor Athena. Not I hope she rests. We need to do something. I screenshotted everything. Then I texted Sarah Lynn. Had my sister-in-law ever shown up at the hospital parking lot? Sarah texted back almost immediately. Oh God, yes. 3 times that I saw, I thought she was bringing you food. She never came in. She just sat in her car. 3 times that Sarah saw, which meant there could have been more. I sat on my bedroom floor with my phone in my hand and finally let the shape of it emerge. This was not one woman overstepping. This was a project. A slow, careful, quiet project. Narrative building. Photo gathering. language planting, witness rehearsing. And the worst part was I still did not know how far it had gone. Monday morning Vivienne called while I was making Mia lunch. Bright voice. Too bright, hey sis, just checking in. How is our girl, I answered normally. She circled for a minute, and then said Mom wanted me to ask if you could send your work schedule for the next 2 weeks. She is planning something special for Mia before her birthday and wants to coordinate. I asked what kind of special. There was a pause, then she said just a little transition. Helping her ease into the school year. Mia did not start kindergarten for 8 more months. I said so. Vivienne stumbled, corrected, said birthday season transitions in general. Then ended the call fast. Transition, that word again. I wrote it down immediately in my note. By then I was done waiting for Daniel to bring me certainty. I already knew enough to act. But I still needed proof. That afternoon at 1 I called Diane and lied. I said Mia left her purple unicorn water bottle at your house. I am in the neighborhood. Can I swing by? Diane said she was not home, said she was at Cynthia's house for a few hours. Her mistake was assuming I would simply accept that. I drove to her cul-de-sac and parked at the corner where her driveway was out of sight. I waited 20 minutes. At 1:23 Diane Camry backed out. Vivienne was in the passenger seat. They turned right and drove away. I counted to 30. Then I drove to the house. I let myself in with Daniel's old spare key. The one Diane should never have still had after his father died, but somehow did. The house was silent. Too silent. The kind of silence that makes every refrigerator hum sound accusatory. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon and lemon cleaner. Sunlight hit the counter in one hard stripe. For 1 second, I had the absurd thought that maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was about to violate a family boundary because my nerves had run away with me. Then I saw the third drawer. I opened it. Inside the cabinet door was a calendar. 3 months of red X marks marching toward one date circled in red. The date was the 3rd Saturday of next month. Mia birthday party. Inside the circle in Diane careful teacher handwriting were 2 words. Transition day. Underneath that in smaller writing were 6 more words. Our special secret. Do not tell mommy. I read it 4 times before I moved. Then beneath the calendar I saw a manila folder. The tab read Mia documentation. I sat down at Diane's kitchen table and opened it. The first page was a photograph of me asleep in my car in the hospital parking lot, head back against the seat, badge still on, mouth slightly open. Taken through my driver's side window at 3:11 in the morning. Someone had stood next to my car while I slept and taken that picture. The second page was a typed document labeled incidents. There were 42 entries. Mia cried because mommy was late. Mia said she does not know where she lives. Mia asked grandma if grandma could be her real mommy. Most of it was lies. Some of it was twisted fragments of real, ordinary moments. All of it was arranged to tell a story. The third document was worse. A draft petition for guardianship in Connecticut probate court. Petitioner, Diane Wells, minor child, Mia Wells Morrison. Grounds, parental incapacity due to chronic occupational fatigue and emotional unavailability. Recommended placement, grandmother home. Recommended visitation for biological parents. Weekends supervised. There was already attorney information on it. Cynthia Hartwell. I did not cry. I did what medicine trained me to do. I took photos. Then video, page by page, slow enough to catch every word, every date, every signature line, every photo, every note. My phone propped against a salt shaker while I turned pages with steady hands that did not feel like my own. There were 14 photographs of me in moments of exhaustion. In the car. Outside the grocery store after night shift. At the pediatrician office when Mia had bronchitis. Walking out of the hospital at dawn. Enough to build an ugly narrative if stripped from context. There was a 42-page handwritten journal by Diane. Neat script. Detailed lies. There was a typed letter from Cynthia advising Diane on next steps. It said pediatric records would strengthen the petition. It specifically suggested working on Dr. Patel at the next appointment and framing it as we just want to be involved. Petition can go in once we have one professional witness. There was also a USB drive sealed in a small bag. I put it in my purse without checking it. I did not need to know yet what was on it. The rest was enough. When I finished, I returned everything exactly where I found it. Folder, calendar, drawer. I locked the back door, walked out the front, sat in my car with both hands on the wheel. And then I called my brother Jack. I said, "Jack, I need you in Connecticut by Friday." He said, "I will be there tomorrow." That is Jack. No questions first. No why, no maybe, just movement. I drove home rehearsing what I would say to Daniel. He got home at 6. Mia was eating mac and cheese. Blue Eye was waiting in the living room. I let him kiss our daughter. Let him put down his bag. Let the ordinary house sounds happen around us for one more minute. Then, when Mia asked to watch one episode before bath, I said yes and closed the living room door. I laid the iPad in front of Daniel. I told him do not say anything for 90 seconds. Just look, he scrolled. Page 1, the parking lot phone. Page 2, the incident list. Page 3, the letter from Cynthia. Page 4. The petition draft, all the color drained from his face. At first he still tried to reject reality. This cannot be real. Mom would not. How did you get this? But the words were weak, airless. He knew what he was looking at. I told him exactly how I found it. Then I told him the part he needed to hear even more than the evidence. I love you, Daniel. But you have spent years pretending your mother is harmless because it is easier for you than admitting she is dangerous. That stops now. I need you to decide whether you are with me or not. You have 48 hours. Our daughter does not have time for your caution. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "I am with you." I said, "Prove it." That night he drove to Diane's house. I stayed home, bathed Mia, read her a story, tucked her in with beans under her arm. I lay beside her until she slept, because by then I could feel something had already been taken from her, and I wanted my body between her and the rest of the world. Daniel came home close to 11. He sat on the bed without taking off his shoes. His mother had not denied it. That is what hit hardest. He walked into her kitchen and found the folder on the counter and the calendar open. He asked what it was. She did not act confused. She asked him to sit down. She told him she was protecting Mia. She told him I was overwhelmed. She told him he could not see it because he loved me. She told him she was giving Mia the kind of stable childhood I could not. Then she said something that told me exactly how far gone she was. She said she was being the mother to Mia that she had never had herself. There it was, the wound beneath the strategy, not excuse, explanation. A lot of people stop when they find the pain beneath a person's cruelty. They think pain softens what the person did. It does not. Daniel asked for the spare keys to our house and hers. She cried. Reached for him, begged him to understand. He took the keys and left. The next morning Jack arrived with coffee and a legal pad, and the exact kind of quiet fury that only lives in older brothers who know how hard their little sister has worked for her life. He sat at my kitchen table and said, "Show me everything." I showed him the photos, the calendar, the petition, the letter from Cynthia, the group chat screenshots, Sarah's statement, Mia verbatim. Every note, every timestamp. Jack listened without interrupting. Then he made a plan, nurse manager letter, pediatrician statement, sworn declaration from Sarah, ethics complaint against Cynthia. Emergency prep for restraining order if Diane escalated. Then he looked at me and asked one question. "Do you want to end this privately or publicly?" I answered without needing to think. Birthday party. Because by then I knew Diane was not just trying to get custody in some quiet legal office. She was building public consent. She wanted family and friends, emotionally prepared to see Mia as hers. She wanted to unveil the arrangement like a benevolent solution. If I let her retreat into private denial after that folder, I would be the only one carrying the truth. And women carrying the truth alone are easy to isolate. I wanted witnesses. Tuesday at 4:15, the Department of Children and Families called. Anonymous report of concern regarding Mia. Home visit requested for Wednesday. I was not surprised. I had been expecting escalation. That still did not stop my hand from gripping the kitchen counter hard enough to hurt. After I hung up, I walked into the living room and told Daniel your mother called CPS. The look on his face that moment was the look of a man finally understanding that the soft, smiling woman who raised him had crossed into a territory he could not explain away. I told him exactly what to do. Stay calm, make a casserole, let me run my ER. He did. Miss Brennan from DCF arrived Wednesday 1 minute early. Gray cardigan, glasses on a beaded cord. Professional and observant, she looked at everything. Our meal plan on the fridge, the snack drawer, Mia bedroom, Mia books, Mia artwork, our family photo at the beach, the butterfly cup. The ordinary details of a loved child. She spoke to Mia alone for 15 minutes while I sat in the kitchen holding coffee I did not drink. When she came out, she asked about the report. The allegations, the photograph of me asleep in my car. I slid a folder across the table. I told her I could do better than answer. I could show her the architecture. She read for 9 minutes. Those 9 minutes felt longer than labor. Then she closed the folder and said the report would be marked unsubstantiated. She said there would be internal review of the reporting source. Then she said the sentence I did not know how badly I needed. You did everything right by your daughter. I am sorry someone wanted you to feel like you did not. I waited until she left to let that land. That same Thursday, a cream-colored invitation arrived in our mailbox. You are invited to Mia's 6th birthday. Saturday at 2, cake, games. And a very special surprise for our birthday girl. Love, Grandma Diane. The family group chat already had 28 yes responses. Neighbors, cousins, church women, and Cynthia had replied yes. Daniel looked at the invitation, then at me, and said she mailed this before. I said yes. Before she knew I knew, which meant the party on the calendar had always been part of the plan. Transition day. The phrase made sense now. She was going to announce something publicly. Not ask, announce. Maybe not formal custody, maybe a new school routine, maybe extended time. Maybe some manipulated family consensus that would make her legal move look supported and natural later. It did not matter. The stage was built, and now we knew what the play was. Friday night, the 4 of us sat at the kitchen table. Me, Daniel, Jack, Mia asleep upstairs with beans under her arm, 3 coffees growing cold. Daniel asked if we should simply not go, change locks, cut contact, end it quietly. Jack said if we did that, Diane would get to keep the story she wrote about us. She would cry to every relative that we were punishing her for loving Mia. She would make herself the grandmother torn away from her child. I said no. She built the room. Let her stand in it. Then Daniel said something that told me how compulsive the lying had become. He said his mother had told him earlier that week she was washing Bean's ears because Mia had forgotten him there. Beans had been in our house every night since the morning I picked Mia up. Diane lied about a stuffed rabbit to create a reason for more contact. That detail is small unless you understand this kind of manipulation. The lie does not need to be big. It just needs to reopen the door. Saturday morning, I sat on Mia's bedroom floor while she chose her dress. I had bought her a purple dress with stars before any of this started. Diane had mailed matching pink cherry dresses for Grandma and Mommy a few weeks earlier. Mia had never worn hers. She held up the purple one and said, "This one." "Good," I said. "Beautiful choice." While she got dressed, she looked at me very seriously and asked, "Do I have to keep Grandma secret?" I knelt in front of her and put my hands on her shoulders. "No, sweetheart, not ever. No one gets to ask you to keep a secret from Mommy. Not now, not when you are older, not anyone. If anybody tells you to hide something from me, you tell me right away. You are never in trouble for telling the truth. Ever." She nodded, then hugged me so hard beans squashed against my cheek. There are moments in motherhood that are so sharp they become permanent. That was one, not because she was scared, because she was trying so hard to be brave. We drove to Whitfield Lane at 1:15. The street was packed. White banner on the house said, "Happy 6th birthday, Mia. A new chapter, a new chapter." The yard had 40 people in it. Neighbors, cousins, Diane church friends, finger sandwiches, white wine. Seltzers, a 3-tier unicorn cake. It looked like the kind of party that would photograph beautifully and feel poisoned in your memory forever. Diane saw us first. Coral cardigan, hair set. Makeup perfect. She came straight for Mia. Knelt, coaxed, smiled, reached for beans and said, "Oh, good you found him. I was worried I had lost him for you." Mia said Mommy found him, just that. Diane's smile flickered so quickly most people missed it. Vivienne came over in a coral dress to match Diane's cardigan. Cynthia stood on the patio in pearls with white wine. Jack moved to table 7 and sat with his portfolio like a man waiting for a signal. Then Diane tapped a butter knife against a glass. The yard quieted. She stood near the cake with one hand on her chest and thanked everyone for coming. She praised Daniel's career, praised my work in medicine, called us devoted, hardworking parents, built us up gently, lovingly, like she was about to honor us. Then she smiled at Mia and said, after a great deal of thought and many conversations filled with love, we have decided as a family that for the upcoming school year Mia will be spending most of her week with Grandma so her parents can keep doing their important work, and Mia can have the kind of slow, attentive present childhood every child deserves. The yard did not gasp. That is the part people do not understand when they have never watched someone manipulate a crowd. If you prepare people beforehand with enough little stories and enough concern and enough soft language, then the unthinkable starts sounding reasonable. A few people even smiled. Vivienne lifted her glass and said it is such a beautiful arrangement. Cynthia raised hers too. Then Diane looked at me and said, "Athena, you are giving me such a gift." And then she said the sentence that made every hair rise on my arms. "She is safer here with me, always will be." The same sentence from the patio years earlier. The sentence I had laughed at. I stood up. I did not yell. I did not shake. I did not give her chaos. Jack handed me the folder. I said, "Before we have cake, I think the family deserves to see 3 documents." 40 heads turned toward me. I opened the folder and took out the first paper. I said, "Document 1 is a draft guardianship petition prepared for Connecticut Probate Court. Petitioner Diane Wells. Subject minor Mia Wells Morrison. Supervising attorney Cynthia Hartwell." You could feel the air change then. People still, faces hardening. I took out the second. Document 2 is an 18-month incident journal written by Diane Wells, documenting 42 allegations of neglect that did not occur. The originals have already been reviewed by DCF in connection with an anonymous complaint filed Sunday night against me. That complaint was closed as unsubstantiated on Wednesday, and the source is now under review. Vivienne sat down so hard her chair scraped. I lifted the third. Document 3 is a photograph of a calendar from Diane kitchen cabinet. Today date is circled in red. In Diane handwriting it says Transition Day. Underneath it says our special secret. Do not tell Mommy. I read those last words slowly. Not because I needed drama, because my daughter had carried them. No one moved. Diane's face changed completely. The softness fell off it. She asked if I had gone through her house. I said I picked up a water bottle and the folder was on the counter. That was a lie, a strategic one. Jack approved later. Diane turned to Daniel and demanded to know if he was going to let me do this. Daniel said, "Mom, do not." Then Diane finally said the truest thing she had said all week. She said, "She is mine more than she is yours. You do not even put her to bed half the nights. I am the only consistent person in that child life." There it was, no more concern. No more soft concern for my workload, no more family support, just possession. Mine. I said she is my daughter and she will remain my daughter. Then something happened I did not expect. Cynthia stood up, set her wine glass down, face paper white. She said, "Athena, I should never have helped my sister with that petition. I am surrendering my law license on Monday. I am sorry." Then she walked out. Daniel stepped beside me and faced the yard. He said, "The locks on our house are being changed. The spare key has been retrieved. Effective today, my mother has no access to my home, my wife, or my daughter." Vivienne tried to speak, said she just wanted Mia to have family. I said, "You photographed me sleeping in my car. We are done." Then Diane sat down and covered her face and said something through her hands that almost made me pity her for half a second. She said I was raised by a stranger. I just wanted Mia to know her family. And there it was, the tragedy under the cruelty, the abandoned child still inside the grandmother costume, the ache that had metastasized into entitlement. But pain is not permission. I said you taught her to lie to her mother. That is not family. Then I turned to my daughter. She was standing near the cake holding beans against her stomach. Her eyes were huge. She looked so small in that yard full of adults and polite plates and collapsing appearances. I knelt in front of her and asked if she wanted to go home. She nodded. I asked if she wanted dinosaur pancakes. This time she almost smiled. Daniel carried the gift bags to the car. Jack followed us. Behind me, Diane was still in the chair, Vivienne crying into a napkin. The cake untouched, the guests silent, no one stopped us. We walked out at the pace of a 5-year-old. That pace matters to me. We did not run, we did not flee. We left like people who knew exactly where home was. When I buckled Mia into her seat, Diane reached the porch and called Daniel's name. He did not turn. I put my hand on the car door and said loudly enough for the front row of guests to hear she is coming home with me tonight. And every night after. Then I got in the car and drove. 10 minutes later, Mia was asleep with beans under her chin. Daniel watched her in the rearview mirror and finally said, "I am sorry." I said, "I know." He asked how long his mother had been doing this. I said a long time, longer than I wanted to count that night. Then I told him what happened next. Restraining order Monday, locks Tuesday, therapist for Mia Wednesday, couples counseling Thursday. And you do not ever say to me again that your mother means well when we are talking about my parenting. He said okay, not defensive, not wounded, just okay. That was the beginning of him becoming useful again. When we got home, he carried Mia upstairs asleep. I stayed in the driveway for 1 extra minute with both hands on the wheel at 10 and 2, exactly the way I had held them at the stop sign the morning she whispered in my ear. 8 days. That is all it took from whisper to explosion. 8 days to go from vague discomfort to proof, from family chatter to state investigation, from grandmother birthday cake to legal boundaries. I walked into my house and locked the door behind me. 2 months later, the restraining order was active. Diane had no contact with Mia, no school contact, no approaching our property. No indirect messages. Cynthia surrendered her Connecticut law license voluntarily on the second Monday after the party. The notice appeared in the bar publication. Vivienne moved to Charlotte 6 weeks later and blocked Daniel before leaving, which honestly felt like a gift. Diane mailed 4 letters, 3 to me, 1 to Daniel. I returned all unopened. Then she sent 1 certified. I returned that too. Daniel started individual therapy. We started couples counseling 3 weeks after the party. Grief has its own strange geometry. He was grieving the mother he thought he had and the reality of the woman who raised him. I let him carry that grief himself. I did not carry it for him. Mia started play therapy. 6 sessions in, she drew a family picture and taped it to our refrigerator. 4 figures: Mommy, Daddy, Mia, Beans, no Diane, no Vivienne. No extra room left for anybody, rewriting the center of her world. She started kindergarten last week. Purple backpack, new sneakers, 1 front tooth loose. She waved at me from the classroom door and then turned around and marched in like she had somewhere important to be. That almost broke me more than the party did. Because danger is loud when it arrives. Relief is quiet. Relief is watching your child walk into a classroom without checking over her shoulder. Relief is hearing her laugh in the bathtub again. Relief is seeing Beans abandoned on the hallway floor because she forgot him for a few hours, and you realize she finally feels safe enough to forget. I am a quiet woman. I used to think that meant the loud people had an advantage over me. I used to think the person who tells the story first wins. That is not true. The loud people make a mistake. They think volume is power. They think performance is proof. They think if they cry first and smile hardest and call themselves family enough times, then reality will bend around them. But quiet women do something else. We watch, we remember, we write it down, and when the time comes, we do not need to scream, we just read. If you made it to the end of the story, I need you to do 3 things for me right now. First, subscribe to this channel, because stories like this help people recognize danger before it is too late, and you do not want to miss the next one. Second, like this video, because every like helps this story reach another woman whose instincts are being dismissed in her own house. Third, tell me in the comments what moment changed everything for you. Was it the drawing on the refrigerator, the hidden calendar, the parking lot photographs, the birthday speech? Or the moment Mia asked if she still had to keep Grandma secret? And if there is someone in your life who needs this story, send it to her tonight. Because somewhere a child is whispering the truth to a mother who has not learned yet to trust the sound of her own fear. And somewhere a woman is about to find a folder in a drawer. I hope when she does she remembers this. No secret is stronger than a mother who finally stops explaining things away.